Hi, Iain Campbell. No Snowman Rally this year. You can see the gates to Milbury are locked behind me. So Ian's a previous 7-time clerk of the course of the Snowman Rally. How did it all start with the Snowman, Ian?
So Snowman was my first rally. I did that with Charlie Campbell in his Chevette in 1994. First stage was with Deviate, with Ray Mackay and Robert. They were seated just behind us. Obviously, they got that seating correct, you know, when Ray went on to win it a few years later. Yeah, it was a baptism of fire. We went through the Deviate stage. I couldn't believe the ruts going up the hill. And then Charlie was faffing about towards the end of the stage, and I couldn't figure out what that was. And it's maybe not something that we should be saying, but his seat was held in position with a monkey wrench, and it hit one of the ruts and fell off, and the seat went like that, and he then couldn't get to the pedals. So we got that one sorted before we went to the next stage. And I think that was the year that Buckley had a big accident towards the end of Glenucker, and when the full length that you started to reintroduce, which we hadn't done for years. So we ended up, the stage got shortened, but we were waiting for about an hour and a half at the stage start at Shenball, and then went through there and came down the ski slope, not the ski slope, because the ski slope's bit that you use, but the other real rough bit coming through the croft. So that was the introduction to that bit.
But the Deviate stage, is that the one that we walk around nowadays, just at the top of the hill? Or was that the other name for Mealmore?
No, that was the one you walk around now.
All right.
Yeah, just at the top of the hill. By they seem to be opening a cafe there for about the last, I don't know, 12 to 14 months or something like that. So yeah, it was in there. I mean, it was, you went up the hill, you turned right, you went about 200, 300 meters, you turned right, you went another 200 meters, you turned right, and then you got to the finish. Absolutely excellent for me in the notes. I could cope with that. So, because we went through, was it Port Clare? And there was one bit, there was nothing for, I don't know, 2 miles for junctions. I just sat there. Yeah. And Charlie thought I died or something. He's like, "What's wrong?" There's nothing to say. I couldn't read a map. So did 94, 95. I think I did a my own car in 95. I had the old man co-driving for me. We went out through Menochty and such like through there. So that's when I realised that I'd got ambition and ability mixed up. But it was good fun. Back with Charlie in 96, I think we went off in every stage before we eventually met a big rock in Rogie. Down at the hairpins near the continent. And at that point, kind of decided that we were both members of the Highland Car Club committee, and we thought that, you know, it was time we put someone back into the event. So we put our hands up to assist with the Snowman. And I remember we were out at Coogie's house at West Lovett for sort of the first meeting that we'd been involved in, and said, "Look, we're here to do, you know, whatever you want us to do, guys," and that. And I said, "Yeah, but I'll do whatever you want as long as it's not Chief Marshal." So I left Coogie's house that night as Chief Marshal. I was Chief Marshal for 97, 98, 99, which was, you know, it's a hard job. It's not one that I relished at all. I mean, the Chief Marshals that we've had, you know, since then, and that you have, they're brilliant because they get on with people and they know them and they get really good contacts and such like with them. But I toiled in it, and
here's the thing, I mean, nowadays we're lucky because everybody's got a mobile phone and we've got email. How the hell did you recruit marshals in those days?
Smoke signals, and it was, but no, it was, you sat there with, you know, it was on the phone and you just bailed around. But it was always, well, say you struggled with it. There was a team that did the passage controls, and they did it every year. There was you know, you phone 63 Car Club and they would cover a stage. You would phone Stonehaven and they would cover a stage, and you would phone Mull, and you know, there was that bit from there. But it was, yeah, here, you know, it's mobiles and it's email and such like now. None of it has changed. It's still digging into whatever contacts you've got and drag, you know, and phoning around, and you know that if you get somebody from the Granite helping you out, you've got to go to the Granite to help them out. So like, which is what it should be.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was good fun. And then Deputy Clerk of the Course in 2000, and Clerk of the Course it was a joint Clerk of the Course with David Fraser in 2001.
Oh, I had that then.
And I'm trying to remember, 2000 was, think Coogie decided the route would be 55 miles. And I think we went all the way up to Dalnessie and Dalhork, up past Lairg, which are beautiful stages.
Was that an anniversary year? Is that why it was longer?
Sounds like it was an anniversary year. Yeah. I can't. Bruce Adams will tell you, but I can't remember. But yeah, it sounds like it was an anniversary year, and why we'd have gone, up there. Which beautiful stages, but just they are a long way from Inverness.
Yeah.
From that perspective.
So what years were you clerk of the course?
So went solo and clerk of the course 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Which was, it was great. It was a complete baptism of fire. But as a clerk of the course, and you'll appreciate this one, is that you are as good as the team that surround you. Yeah. So whilst I got the title and got to sit in room 306, it was in the hotel at the time for rally control. It's a team that are out in the field. They're the ones that are doing the work and pushing everything around.
And I'm guessing it's the same characters that I'm lucky to work with now that you had around at the same time. Who are the
same people? The same people that you shout and swear at when they're out in the safety cars for trying to get stuff done and such like. Will be the same people that we shouted and swore at when we were there. But that's because they are so good at what the job is. And it's not just it's a weekend before, as of setting up stakes. It's then going out on the Wednesday or the Thursday or the Wednesday as it always was, to do the arrowing, because Thursday was the media day. And then, it's running the stage from there. Because Friday night, there was at least 2 occasions on the when I was clerk of the Snowman that you'd have or you would start signing on and such like, and you maybe see some of the team, and then there'd be some of them would clear off at 5 o'clock that night because they were going out to the stage to either make sure everything was set up or cleared. And then everybody would come back and we'd have the sort of the pre-event meeting at 10 o'clock at night when documentation was done, and you'd catch up with everybody, and then you just wanted to have a quick word to make sure everything was set up in the morning. Yeah. And at least on 2 occasions, there was at least 2 members of the team were saying, right, we're away out to the stages, because it was snowing like buggery. And they're away out there, to keep driving through the stages, to make sure they were clear, for the morning. And you would wake up as a clerk. Well, I would wake up as a clerk with this, as Jim Brown would say, with marshnet and socks, because you were nervous and such like. And so you're up at 5:30, 6 in the morning, and quite often you would be going down in the lift in the hotel, and you're meeting these guys coming back in, and all they were doing was grabbing a bit of breakfast and a bacon roll and heading back out to the convoy. And that's the whole team thing that you get, and they're out on the road to make it happen. But then we get fed up hearing about this fever or rally fever that folk get, especially with the other event that we're involved in Mull in October, because folk go on about that. But it's the same. The Snowman, you forget it's a big thing. And
up in the Highlands, it's huge, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and it's just not just from the crews, because they're all out there and wanting to get a. They spent the winter months preparing the cars and getting ready and going out to go from there. But then the number of spectators that would come out to go watch as well has always been phenomenal. Whether that was a good thing or a bad thing depended on which hat you had on at the event as well. But I always loved the fact that it was an event that started the season. It was the complete unknown of who was going to perform, what cars were going to be there, and we always throw in the mix of what's the conditions going to be like. Yeah. And for the 3 weeks beforehand, it was going to be, is the Snowman going to run, because there's been a snowflake seen somewhere. But it was the ice and the unknowns that were in there. And it's also nice to organise an event when you're doing the paperwork at night, because there's nothing else doing, because it's dark. I always feel sorry for to Neil Shanks and the 63 guys, because they're running an event in August, and I'd rather be out having a barbecue or something instead of doing paperwork trying to get ready for an event in the summer.
So did you have any memorable ones? And you talk about snow that always plagues the Snowman, or quite often plagues the Snowman, but any memorable events, ones that were particularly challenging? I
said before we hit record on this that I'm struggling to remember a lot of them. There's so many. They seem to just merge into one. I think I'm fairly certain that Callum Guy. Well, no, I was going to say Callum Guy. I think won the first one that I was a clerk at, but that could be rubbish. And he won the one before I was clerk at, and it was really bad with ice. The first one, I think, that I was a clerk, and I think so. Callum Guy had a bad accident in Glenuckert. I think he broke his hand or something like that. So, it's a baptism of fire from there. But it's what are the things you remember? You remember the personalities you deal with, and that's like the local residents. So there's always when you go to Rogie, there's sensitivities in certain areas there, and you have to how you deal with them. There's Glenuckert, which is a fantastic stage, but it's hard to get spectators into. So there was the folk that we had to go see for the to get the field there for the car parking. And I remember going there in '98 with Coogie and my old man to go set the stage up. And Coogie went, "I'm away to see the landowner get the field sorted out. You go on and I'll catch up with you in the stage." And I think myself and my father had the whole Glenuckert staked and ready and such like before Coogie came back. So you can imagine what we were calling him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he'd buggered off. But when we met him at the end, you get the tale of woe of just how much he had to bend over and beg and kiss and just promise everything to be able to get the car park. So it's these elements that you remember, and the different characters of Hector being out, Hector Monroe being out leading the field to close all that sort of stuff off. Yeah. When it comes to the event, I couldn't tell you who won many of the events.
You've certainly done a lot since then, and it was obviously a good training ground for you because you've gone on to do some pretty exciting stuff since then.
But yeah. I mean, I've been very lucky, extremely lucky, from that perspective, because it led on to Rally of Scotland and all that sort of stuff. But as a clerk, I struggle to tell who's won an event on any event, because you're not interested in the least as to what the results are, apart from signing them off as final at the end of the day. Because you want to make the event happen. You've got the responsibility for the 100 competitors that are going out there, and car 100 is as important as car 1. And as long as they go out, and those that come back, those that come back have hopefully had a good day, and those that don't come back are okay. The only thing that hurts their wallet. Don't really care about anything else from that perspective. I think Andrew Wood was probably the most successful one. Yeah. It might have been 2001 that Coogie really begged to David Weston to come out to do the Snowman, and Dave didn't want to come and do it. Right. And he went into Scottsburn and went off and had the most monumental argument with a tree that just about wrote the Lancer off. And you're like, shit, you've gone and begged for this man to come here, and this accident's happened. And I mean, the other one was a competitor that had kept promising he was going to pay his entry fee, and didn't. Started the stage or started the rally. Must get the money off him, but we kind of knew everything was going to be okay. And the guy got 150 meters into the first stage, and the engine went bang, and it was like, shit. How am I going to tell my old man, who was a treasurer, that this guy's not paid his entry fee, and I haven't got a hope of getting that back now? No. But when he got back to the hotel, he went across the road to the filling station to the auto bank, withdrew whatever amount it was in cash, and walks over and goes, "There's your money for the entry fee, and I've got an expensive engine build." And it's these characters that you remember.
Right. Well, thank you very much. That's been very insightful. Learning all about that. Thanks for your time. We'll catch up soon. Cheers, Iain.